Stocks and bonds are kind of the basic asset allocation, but within those areas, you can get diversified to different industries, different sectors, different geographies. But then there are things like real estate and commodities, emerging markets. These are all good areas to have some exposure to.
Hello there and welcome to the My Future Business Show. It's wonderful to have you back with us, and if this is your first time joining us on the show, it's great to have you here. Now on today's show, I have the pleasure of welcoming the president and founder at capital management firm Sidoxia, Mr. Wade Slome. Welcome to the show, Wade.
Thanks, Rick. Great to be here.
Yes, great to have you here. And now you and I are going to be talking about smart money moves and investing, the impacts of current market events on investment choices, and insights into investment options for business owners. But it is customary, as mentioned earlier, Wade, that we start off by talking a little bit about your background. And let's start at the start. Where are you calling in from today?
Yes, I'm located here in lovely Newport Beach, Southern California.
Oh, beautiful. I love that place. Now, tell me, what do you love about the place? And is that your home?
Yes, I've been at Newport Beach when I started my firm about 16 years ago. So I'm native to California. I've been back east in the Middle West for quite some time, but I've been here in Newport Beach for 15 years.
So tell us a little bit about locations and landmarks. What's something that's prominent there?
Well, Orange County is actually spread out pretty broadly. So it's one beach after another. So next to Newport Beach, you have Laguna Beach. If you go farther north, I used to live in Manhattan Beach and Hermosa Beach, going all the way down to San Diego. Probably the biggest landmark in Orange County is probably Disneyland.
Oh, yes.
That's about a half hour inland from here.
Yep.
But my kids are grown, so it's been a while since I've been to Disneyland.
Well, I do recall going there many years myself, but I love the place. Now, tell me a little bit about your sprint triathlons. I know that they're part of everything you do. Now, I couldn't do it myself. Tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. Yeah, I've been involved with sports pretty much my whole life, ever since I was a kid. Once I got older and I moved back from Kansas City to Orange County about 15 years ago, I connected, as a lot of people do in social media, and connected with one of my high school friends. And he said, "Hey, Wade, why don't you come out and play on the basketball team just like our high school days?" Well, I found out very quickly that I was much slower. The pains were a lot tougher. And so I basically retired from recreational basketball in my, let's say, early 40s, and converted to running. And then that's when I started dabbling around in triathlons. It's been a while since I did my last one, but it was a lot of fun, and I'm always up for a new challenge all the time.
Tell me a little bit about the difference between a standard triathlon and a sprint triathlon.
Yeah, so they come in different lengths, basically. So you can think of, junior varsity, college, professional. So I started with a sprint triathlon. And, usually I think you finish those in about an hour. And then they have, you graduate to an Olympic marathon, triathlon. And I did one of those. And those are generally 2 to 3 hours across, swimming, biking, and running. And then after that, I never got to the half Ironman or an Ironman, but who knows?
You never know.
You never know. Maybe that'll be in my future.
Absolutely. Loving the feedback. Now, I know as a traveler myself, I get this bug and I need to go places. Now, I know that you've been to, what is it, 25 different countries? Tell us a little bit about your travel journeys. Sure.
Yeah, it's probably expanded a little bit since then. But my mother grew up in Germany, and as you probably know, the Europeans love to travel. So it was kind of part of my childhood and growing up, just that real keen interest in getting exposed to new cultures and new areas, just that idea of adventure. A lot of people here, especially in California, kind of get trapped in a bubble just because it really is a nice place to live and there's a lot to do here, but really deprives people of getting out of their comfort zone and seeing new cultures and experiencing new people and that type of thing. So so I try at, I would say, over the last 10, 20 years, try to do at least one big trip a year.
Yep.
Most recently, I kind of ticked off an area I've never been to, which was Croatia.
Oh.
And then we also went to Montenegro. And I'd been to Greece, but Santorini was kind of the highlight of the trip. So, there's what's in store next. I have a few ideas, but I'm always looking to try to do one big trip a year if possible.
Now, I remember going to some places around this big, wide, wonderful world of ours and always feeling a sense of gratitude because we seem to have a better understanding, a different perspective at least, of how lucky we are. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, no, I think probably a lot of people that you interview, they may not all be in the top 1 or 2%, but let's just say the top half. And when you get exposed to different areas, you realize that you do take certain things for granted, and getting exposed to some of those different areas, makes you appreciate what you do have. So I would agree with that statement.
Absolutely. Thank you for the feedback. I also think about, you touched on culture a little earlier, Wade, and I think, what is something that's common, given your vast and wide travels, that is common between all of us, do you think?
Well, and in the investing world, I think you realize that people are very emotional and passionate.
Yep.
I mean, we talked a little bit about sports. I mean, Europeans and soccer, it's just a whole different level. I mean, it's a religion.
Oh, yeah.
And we have our NFL football here. But no, I think, even from a business standpoint, emotions and behavioral aspects and culture and economics and politics, it all plays into, how we look at companies, investments and trends, and, having a global perspective and understanding how globalization works. And, just from basic, I mean, your audience and listeners, they're familiar with the iPhone and, hundreds of millions of people using these things and how it connects people. So, I mean, I think there's a lot of commonality, and with globalization, the linkage is even getting tighter, and I think it'll get even tighter over time.
Yeah, absolutely. Great feedback. Now, I know that it's one thing to travel abroad, but tell us a little bit about your 5,000-mile RV trip. How was that like?
So this was at the tail end. I was managing a $20 billion fund at American Century in Kansas City.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the benefits we had as employees is you could take a sabbatical.
Oh.
So I took almost a full month and got into an RV in the Midwest. And, not everything works out as it should on paper. At the time, my kids were 2 years old and 5 years old. And you can imagine going 5,000 miles trapped in a house on wheels can create some adventure. But looking back, even with some of the complications we faced, it was a really memorable experience. And even for my kids, more my older daughter, they can look back, and I'm actually, besides a travel enthusiast, I'm a photo book enthusiast. So that whole trip is captured in, I don't know, a 40, 50 page book.
Yeah,
and so my kids can look back and, remember it fondly.
Isn't that funny? We suffer at the time, but they're memories that we would never give away, or we would happily do again. Now, we've talked about your traveling abroad and locally, but what else is on the bucket list for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think, well, from a travel perspective, I mean, it's kind of endless. So,
Mm,
in the short run, I'm looking at Iceland and Scandinavia. I've never tried part of the area, but from a broader standpoint, for me as a business owner, individual, it's all about life balance,
yeah, yeah.
and you can never really achieve it, but it's kind of a moving target. So we just went through the new year. There's always, New Year's resolutions, but it is a goal for me to not only try to excel at business, but also to be present with my family and all my relationships. I want to keep a balance with my friends, and then also personally, you have to keep keep sane and calm, especially in my industry. There's a lot of stress involved. So, I want to give myself personal time. Whether people do that differently, it could be religion. We talked about, triathlons. And
Hmm.
so I think exercise is kind of a win-win situation as far as stress management and
Yep.
also for health and longevity. So I'm a big believer in, making sure I have personal time for myself. So yeah, as far as bucket list, there's
It's ongoing.
kind of, yeah, it's a journey, and trying to check off buckets in each of those categories and maintain a work life balance.
Well, Wade, you're looking good, and I can tell you look after yourself. Tell me a little bit about your daily routine. Are you up early, and what's your diet look like? What are you into?
Sure. Yeah, I think I got in the wrong profession as far as my physical location, because the
Yeah.
on the West Coast here, the stock market opens at 6:30 a.m. I should have probably started my professional career on the East Coast. They start at 9:30 a.m.
They get the jump on you.
But yeah, I usually get up when the market opens at about 6:30 a.m. and basically looking at all the investments in the portfolios that we manage to see if there are any fires with our investments. Are there any decisions that we need to make? But for the most part, we're long-term investors, and I most of my clients, they don't wake up for a few more hours, so it's kind of a peace, calm before the storm in the morning. But beyond that, I do like to get some exercise routine into my daily regimen. When it could be in the morning, it could be in the afternoon, it could be in the evening. So I'm real flexible. I do yoga
Yep.
occasionally.
Yep.
Running is a very convenient thing. I don't have to go to the gym and drive. I just literally put on my running shoes
And away you
and
go.
the front door, and it's really difficult to do. I can't say that I love it. I love the feeling when I finish.
Yes.
So anyway, I do try to do that. And then as far as diet goes, yes, I do have some family health history that makes it important that I have to keep on top of that.
Mm.
So I do try to eat healthier, not a lot of red meat,
Mm.
and try to introduce more fruits and vegetables into my diet. But I definitely do love food, and I do have cheat days,
Yes, me too.
and I do have a sweet tooth. But yeah, for today, so far I've had an acai bowl, if you know what that is.
No, I
So
don't. But there you go.
getting a little hungry, but not sure what's on the dinner menu.
Well, it's just around the corner, I'm sure. Now, tell me, you just touched on discipline. And I think about how disciplined you must be in terms of running a triathlon. And, you talked about not liking the experience when you have to do it, but you do it anyway. It's a committed person. It's somebody who recognizes the value of persistence and discipline. Tell me a bit about how important that is for you.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it. A big part of it is just the competitive nature. That's what's really exciting to me. So when I get up every morning, um, I'm in a very unique industry where we get judged and measured every day, and it's kind of like a sport.
Mm.
Um, and the same goes with these triathlons and competitions, and just and part of the competition is the scale.
Yeah.
So I get on the scale every day. So to me, I'm constantly measuring whether it's professionally with my investments, my clients, my business, personally. Yeah, I need to make sure that my weight's good. I have to make sure that my cholesterol levels
You're
are
on top of it.
correct.
Yeah.
It's a competition to stay healthy, to be in the shape that I can do the things that I want to do, because I do enjoy life. I want to
Yeah.
be around for a long time, and so yeah, it does require discipline. But I enjoy just the competitive part of it.
Nature.
I'm
Yeah.
a very competitive person.
Well, I know that this is why the My Future Business show is fundamentally different from most other business related podcasts, is because we take a bit of a deep dive into your personal life. So I really do appreciate it. Now, I think that's a really good segue into educational and professional background. Tell us a little bit about that. What sort of qualifications do you have behind you?
Sure. Yeah. Thanks to my mom. My mom was a widow, and she brought up me and my two brothers. And so education was very important. My two older brothers were kind of mentors to me. I kind of chased and, bit their ankles trying to keep up with them. After high school, I went to college at UCLA, the University of California, Los Angeles. I was an economics major, and I cut my teeth for a few years for an investment company called William O'Neill. They're based in Southern California. He was the brains behind Investors Business Daily newspaper, which is kind of a Wall Street Journal competitor. So I did that for 2 years, got some great experience, and then used that to get my master's, my MBA degree at Cornell University in upstate New York. Along with that, the investment industry is kind of a unique industry as far as credentials and certifications. And quite frankly, there aren't really a lot of stringent requirements. A lot of it is voluntary. So believe it or not, and it's part of the reason we got into the 2008 financial crisis, is because there wasn't a lot of regulation. And, I would argue today there still isn't enough.
Mm.
But I voluntarily got what's called a CFA, Chartered Financial Analyst. And what that is kind of an inch wide, mile deep into investments. So a lot of people that work on Wall Street, people that did do what I do and did what I did, which was manage billions of dollars, had this very specific credential, and that not that it's required, but
Mm.
gives you a lot of knowledge in the space. Beyond that, I have what's also called the CFP, Certified Financial Planner. This is a little bit more common. It's still a minority of investment advisors in the industry, and it's more of a mile wide, inch deep of knowledge across everything from investments to estate planning, tax planning, insurance, et cetera. It's kind of a broad dive.
Broad
And
dive. Yep.
that's another multi-year program. So those are some of my certifications and my educational background.
Yeah, thank you very much for sharing. Tell me a little bit about the different types of investments and what does Sidoxia focus on?
Yeah, I mean, we do primarily invest for high net worth individuals, and we do also manage money for businesses. You can think of things like 401k plans or pension plans. And yeah, as far as the specific investments, we invest in individual stocks, we invest in individual bonds, government securities, things called ETFs, exchange traded funds,
Mm.
or index funds. And you talk to 10 different investment professionals and you'll get 10 different opinions on what's the best way to invest. Our religion at Sidoxia is low cost, tax efficient, long term time horizon. You can kind of think of a Warren Buffett type of philosophy to investing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's worked very well for me over my 30 plus year investment career.
Well, I'd love to explore that a little more, but I also want to know where did the name Sidoxia come from? I love it.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's kind of interesting because, as you can imagine, just like there are a lot of podcasters out there and interview people that you swim around with. In the investment industry, there are literally hundreds and thousands of different firms out there. So when you're coming up with a name for your business, especially in the investment industry, you come across a lot of things like Everest Capital Management,
Yep.
or Pinnacle, or Peak, or all these different ways of trying to create an analogy of growth. At American Century, it was a tree. So Sidoxia is a name I came up with, was derived from the Greek word for optimism, asiodoxia. And so I kind of chopped it down a little bit, and Sidoxia is where we arrived.
So tell me a little bit about your ideal client. I know you've talked about high net worth individuals, but even if they're high net worth individuals, in terms of, I guess, the way they go about investing, they've come to you for a reason. Is it oftentimes the case that they may not have the appropriate education?
Yeah, I mean, the way I like to describe it is, people understand that certain areas of their life can be very complex. And taxes is one of them. So a lot of people can do it yourself, but a lot of people understand the complexities of doing that. And the same goes with an estate plan, or maybe it's your kitchen that you want to renovate. And we talked earlier about the idea of outsourcing. So a lot of people, they don't have the time, interest, the emotional fortitude to do investing. It's kind of like Warren Buffett said, investing is kind of like dieting. It's very easy to understand, but difficult to achieve. And so, we're happy to do it for others, for people that don't have the time, interest, or emotional fortitude to do it.
I'd love to talk about portfolios and whether or not a new investor should have a diversified portfolio, or should they just start off in one stream?
Yeah, no, I think that's a very important point. And what we do at Sidoxia is we try to create a customized, we call it an IPS, an investment policy statement. So everyone's at a different stage in their life. We have clients in their early 30s. They may be, attorneys, consultants, or entrepreneurs. And then we have clients that are well into their retirement. And so their portfolios may look wildly different, but the commonality is what you pointed out is you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. You want to be diversified. And what we really try to achieve is an income stream that is appropriate for each individual client. So if you're in retirement, we set up portfolios to spin off cash flow and income so that clients can live the lives that they want, and we try to streamline it and make it really convenient and easy for them. For people that are younger, I plan on working as long as I can, hopefully for decades, if I'm healthy enough. And so I don't really need a lot of access to income. So I'm going to have a higher risk tolerance than some other clients. So, client situations change and adjust over time. So we're very open, and we do it periodically. It's just, we don't want to be changing the objectives of our clients on a constant basis, but we customize these diversified portfolios for all our clients.
So you touched on something that's of really a lot of interest to me. I think about risk profiles. How do you know when somebody approaches you and they're looking to invest, what sort of risk profile that they actually have? What's the process for working that out?
Yeah, it is a difficult thing to pinpoint because what you find out, as I talked about before, the commonality with most individuals is greed and fear.
Yep.
And so, in periods where the stock market is volatile, people become very fearful. And, as Warren Buffett said, you buy fear and you sell greed. But most individual investors, they operate differently. So when the market's going up, they say, hey, Wade, I have a high risk tolerance. Like, let's get into all these technology stocks. Let's do it. And then the market tanks and they go, you know what, Wade, I'm very conservative. I just want to preserve wealth.
Cause and effect.
Right. And so that risk tolerance can change over time. So we try to be really upfront with our clients and prospective clients is to explain how we invest. And we try to prepare them for rocky waters because inevitably that's what happens. And so when the waves start crashing, you try to remind investors like, okay, things are on sale for 20% off. Now's not the time to panic, knee-jerk sell. Now's the time to reinvest, redeploy those gains that we harvested when everything was sunny, bright, and clear. And so that's what we do on a day-to-day basis. And, that risk tolerance, we kind of operate like therapists and try to educate and really understand. But the short answer for most people, we can figure out within the first 5 minutes just from the questions that clients and prospective clients ask whether they're really risk takers. And, we want to understand their financial situation. We want to recommend, how much risk they can or how much risk they should take. But at the end of the day, it's their money. And we just want to make sure there's a common understanding of the strategy and the risk that we're taking currently and, review it periodically.
It seems to me that the only constant in investing is that everything is always variable. We've just talked about risk profiles, and I'm wondering what's the frequency at which you would review or sit down with an existing client to go over the numbers again and look at their portfolios? Is it annually, biannually? How does that work?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's an ongoing basis. So, it's important for us to communicate with our clients constantly. So we do that on a quarterly basis where we reach out, we give a summary of all the investments. I do a video kind of state of the union video report and talk about the changes we made, investments that have outperformed, investments that have underperformed, what's going on in the financial markets. And then we leave it up to the clients if they have questions to contact us. But from a regulatory standpoint, we're also required to every few years to actively reach out to the clients and say, hey, you're currently in a moderate portfolio or you're an aggressive or conservative portfolio. Have your circumstances changed? Do you want to change your risk profile or your asset allocation is the industry term. So yes, at a minimum, every few years, we need to meet with the clients and make sure that they're comfortable.
That's great feedback. Thank you very much, Wade. Now, when we have an inexperienced person that comes to you, how do you help them make smart investment choices?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, for people that outsource, like I said, they're focused on what's important to them. That could be work, it could be family, it could be their personal lives. And so vast majority of people say like, Wade, here's my life savings. Don't lose it. Make me some money. But as far as helping them make good decisions and not to make rash or emotional decisions, I don't think any of us make our best decisions when we're emotional, is for clients to really understand. So I think a lot of people in the industry, they try to make things sound more complicated than they are. Yeah. So we want to make sure that clients are comfortable in asking questions. There's no such thing as asking dumb questions. I think of myself when I go to the auto repairman. I have no idea. He could tell me, your thingamabob has been broken and it's going to cost you this, this, and that. So it's very much a trust-based business, but I approach that same situation to find the professional that I work best with is, okay, could you explain to me what's broken? How did it happen? Can you show me? And so when you can kind of understand in layman's terms what's going on, you're going to feel more comfortable.
Yep.
And I think the relationship with your client or customer is going to last longer. So that's what we try to achieve, is just a basic understanding of what we're doing. You don't have to understand all the nuts and bolts, but make sure that your questions are understood in terms that you can relate to.
Are there common asset classes, the likes of gold and things like that people should always invest in? And are there others right now, I guess, with global volatility that they should avoid?
Yeah. We talked about diversification earlier, and I think it is important. So, stocks and bonds are kind of the basic asset allocation, but within those areas, you can, get diversified to different industries, different sectors, different geographies, different risk capital structures. But then there are things like real estate and commodities, emerging markets. I think these are all good areas to have some exposure to. And with a lot of these multinational companies, they operate in over 100 countries.
Yeah.
And so you're getting a lot of diversification just by investing in one company. As far as areas that we try to stay away from, we try to stay away from anything that's hot, anything that you're reading about or hearing about all the time. People that are looking to make money, get rich right away. And we get those questions all the time. So some of those hot areas that we try to shy away from would be things like, for a while it was the cannabis stocks.
Yep.
Here in the U.S., different states are legislating and making things legal and expanding access, et cetera. The same goes with this cryptocurrencies.
Mm-hmm.
So we get this question almost every day. What do you think of Bitcoin? Or, there are literally hundreds of these currencies, and they're coming out every day.
Every day.
And so, yes, we're a little bit more conservative and would urge people to, shy away. For things like gold, for example, we're perfectly okay having a small exposure, but we're not necessarily big gold bugs either.
Tell me a little bit about the software and AI space. Is there room for that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that is a trend. And, as business owners and studying literally thousands of business, what you understand is that the largest cost for the vast majority of businesses are people. And the thing that's been going on for decades is the slow and incessant expansion of technology, because technology reduces the cost of employees and also makes employees and people more productive. And so with AI, I'm a little bit, cautious about any of these things, any of these buzzwords as far as the pace of adoption. And so I don't think AI is going to happen overnight and robots are going to be running our lives, but every business and every industry is being impacted. And essentially what it is it's just software. So I just tell people to think about, whenever they hear about AI, it's just software. We've lived for decades in a generation. You may have heard of Moore's Law, which basically says that computing power doubles every 12 to 18 months. And so we've had this explosion of computer power. And, quite frankly, it took a decade or two for the software to catch up. So with this Chat GPT, what you're seeing is certain applications of the software where it's catching up to the computing power. and it's not stopping,
No.
and that's why you're seeing, whether it's in biotechnology, if it's in media and entertainment, if it's retail, it's impacting all industries. So yes, we are definitely focused on this area. We're investing in that area, and we're looking for companies and industries that not only don't have to be creating the AI technology, but are using it to grow their business and their profits.
What I think is important that I'm taking away from this call is that Sidoxia must be all about information. Where is it that you're sourcing the wide array of global information on what's a great investment, long-term, short-term, all of this information that you must have so that you can help people, help investors make informed decisions? What's your sources?
Yeah, no, I mean it's really been a information revolution because anybody at their computer has access to this information,
Yep.
and the internet is just so pervasive. But a lot of this information, and most people don't know it. It's right in front of them in their computer. Is these thousands of companies that we follow, publicly traded stocks, are mandatorily required to release information, not only quarterly, but whenever there are other changes. So you've probably heard of the SEC, the Security and Exchange Commission. They require all these companies to file all these public filings. And, Warren Buffett used to talk about what he would love to do Friday nights is to curl up with a nice annual report or 10K. And, these are for us geeks that are really interested in finding the next Apple computer or NVIDIA or, Amazon, to really dig into the details and understand how companies operate. But in order to do a lot of this detailed in the weeds analysis, it does require some education and training in the basic language of business is accounting. And so, it's probably the most boring class that I had in college and business school, but the most valuable. So a lot of what I do on a day-to-day basis is I'm crunching and looking through the numbers, but also reading about strategy, new products, expanding into new geographies. There's just like an endless amount of information. And each one of these companies, you just go to their website and they have presentations and recordings. You can really go down a lot of rabbit holes and get tons of information to become an expert on a lot of these companies.
Great feedback. Thanks again, Wade. Now, I wonder, given that we're moving away from a more towards a cashless society, credit cards abound everywhere, how does that impact investing options and choices that people make?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a great point. We're actually an investor in Visa. So I'm sure a lot of your listeners use that. But and you can see it with, younger generation. I have kids and, they're using Venmo and nobody carries cash anymore. They go out to dinner and they'll split the dinner up 5 ways over their cell phones.
Yeah.
So, everything definitely is moving from cash to digital and electronic. There's certainly some risks, regulatory wise, because these, whether it's MasterCard or Visa, they, essentially have oligopolies, and but the convenience factor is undeniable. And with all this talk about cryptocurrency, the government and the Federal Reserve, they've been talking about a digital currency. So it wouldn't surprise me at some point if countries and governments set up their own digital currencies to try to take advantage of these trends. So yes, I do think that is a trend that we'll be seeing in the coming years and decades.
Tell us a little bit about your perspective on real estate. Is it still a solid option?
Yeah, especially here in the U.S., it's been a really interesting phenomenon which has been going on because the economy has been slowing. The Fed has had these massive interest rate increases, and you would think from the outside looking in that they would just absolutely destroy the real estate, especially the residential real estate market. And the surprising factor has been that nobody is moving or selling their home. So there's literally, historically generously low historical levels of inventory because people don't want to sell their home because they have a 3.5% mortgage. Because if they sell their home, guess what? I'm going to have to roll into like a 7, it got up to 8% mortgage. And all of a sudden my mortgage payment is going to be 50% higher. So, yes, I think the residential real estate is for the time being is very solid fundamentally because there just aren't homes. And there is, if you look at demographics and the expanding of, the generation, I guess, Y and Z, these, adults in their 30s looking to buy a home, there's a very captive audience that is chomping at the bit to move out of mom's house or apartment and get into a house. So yes, in the short run, we think it's a good market.
We've talked about, trying to make some money, putting some money down and getting a return on our investment. But how much is enough money when you're at that retirement stage? Honestly, is there a cap that people should be looking at?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. Going back to what we talk about, everyone's situation is a little bit different. Interest rates. So the way that we look at investments and the stock market, there are 4 key factors, and it's interest rates, valuations, which is just another term for the price. If you were looking at a house,
Yep.
The price is very important. And also is growth. So when you're looking at a business, whether you're looking to buy or sell and at what price, it's going to depend on, is it growing? Is it declining? Is it stagnant? And that'll depend on the price. And then in the stock market, sentiment. And it's kind of a contrarian indicator. So when people are very greedy, like I said, that's when you want to be more cautious.
Yeah.
And when people are ready to jump out the window, that's when the vultures come in and they scoop things up for pennies on the dollar.
Yeah.
But there is no specific return. It really depends on the situation. If you're younger in your life and you don't need access to your money and you have a longer term time horizon, then you're going to be looking for a higher return. The stock market over the last 100 years has averaged probably 8 to 10%. But if you're retired and you're looking more at capital preservation and income generation, you may well live comfortably earning 5 or 6%, and being able to sleep at night as the stock market tanks. Your investment portfolio is going to be have the shock absorbers to withstand that.
Yep.
And it's not going to move as much. And so we really try to balance that risk, reward, and return based on the time horizon and income needs of each client.
I'm really enjoying this call, Wade. It's been fantastic. Now, I'm wondering if we could talk a little bit about the investments that may be available to business owners.
Yeah, so for business owners, I think the real low-hanging fruit, especially if you have the cash flow to do it, is to set up a retirement plan for your company. So that would be setting up a 401k. So for a lot of small businesses, you start at the bottom level, which is kind of your IRA, the individual retirement account, and those contribution limits go up every year. But let's call it $6,000-7,000 a year. That's not going to really get you to retirement. The next level is establishing a 401k, and it could be what they call a solo K. So you can be a solo practitioner, and what happens is you can shelter tens and tens of thousands of dollars each year, and it's a win-win because all your contributions lower your taxes, but you're also giving money to yourself for your retirement.
Yeah.
And once you get into retirement, typically your tax rate's going to be lower. So when you're withdrawing the money and taking money out for taxes, in many cases it's at a lower rate. So it's a win-win. And then, there's levels you can graduate beyond that. A pension plan you could set up for your company, and you can shelter hundreds of thousands of dollars in certain cases. So that's kind of a low hanging fruit area for businesses to
Look
invest
at.
in. And it's also a customer. I'm sorry, an employee retention tool.
Mhm.
So not only as you're giving benefits to your employees, are you helping to retain them, but it's a business expense that lowers your taxes as well.
There is just so much that we could talk about, and I know that the information runs deep in Sidoxia. Now, tell me a little bit about the team at Sidoxia.
I'm sorry, say that again,
Tell
please.
us a little bit about the team at Sidoxia.
The tame.
The team, the people that are working within your
Oh, I'm
business.
sorry. Your accent is coming through. Yeah, the team. So I have a few employees that work with me. I kind of have a chief operating officer, Kevin Weaver, and he wears a lot of different hats. He does a lot of the financial planning.
Mhm.
So as you can kind of tell from our conversation, I'm really interested in the investments, and that's what I've been doing for 30 years.
Yep.
I'm also a financial planner, and I can, come in with my expertise and perspective. Kevin does that. He handles a lot of the operations, our client retention. Rick, you specifically worked with Civi, our client administration professional, and so she interacts with a lot of our clients and offloads some of the administrative tasks. We also have a tax partner, Keith. So when we have tax questions, he can help us out. But overall, it's a relatively small team. We manage over 100 million in assets, which in the whole scheme of things is relatively small compared to the billions of dollars that I manage on that large fund. But we continue to grow. I love what I do, and I hope to be doing this for many, many
Years to
years to
come.
come.
I wonder, how does it make you feel when you see results coming through for your clients? It must make you feel good.
Yeah, there's no doubt. There's like I said, it can be an emotional roller coaster if you uh, you know get too involved on a day to day basis. But having been in the business at Sidoxia for 16 years now, it is personally satisfying to see clients reach their objectives and be really appreciative of the value that we offer and the guidance and advice and investments that we make. And so, there's a lot of pressure and responsibility. But just like I'm sure you do in your business and a lot of other business owners do, you develop real tight knit relationships with a lot of these clients. And, I don't really take myself seriously, but I take my business and my clients very seriously. And so, yes, it definitely is fulfilling, especially, for our long-term clients.
Now, when people want to find more information, I know that you've also got I guess, a side website called Investing Caffeine. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes. So, uh, like a lot of business owners that you talk to, um, there's a lot of challenges in starting a business. So when I started coming from this $20 billion fund and starting my own business, I literally had, zero clients and started from scratch. So I had to kind of use my blood, sweat, and tears. And so that's when I started writing. I never was a writer. I did a blog for that 5,000-mile RV trip, and some people said, "Hey, Wade, you
You
can
do
write." I said, "Oh, I didn't know you could." Okay,
it.
well, I started my blog, and that's what Investing Caffeine is. And so, people can go there. They can sign up for our monthly newsletter. But basically, I used to write 4 or 5 times a month when I didn't have any clients. Now I write once a month and kind of give my overview on what's going on, in the financial markets and trends and opportunities that we see. So it's a good resource to kind of get an idea of what we're thinking and what's going on in the world.
It's a great resource. I've had a look at it. It's a real credit to you. Now, importantly, when people who are on this call today want to find out more information about Sidoxia, more information about you and your team, where are they going to go?
Yeah, I mean, I think the best place is to go to our website, which is sidoxia.com. It's S as in Sam, I, D as in David, OXIA.com. And there you can learn about the firm, our background, our services. You can give us a call, our phone number, all our contact information's there. There's a lot of our blog is integrated in there. So yeah, there's a lot of interesting information if you want to learn more about our firm, our services.
There you go. If you're on today's call, you've enjoyed it, you want to learn some more, go to sidoxia.com. I'll be making sure that the link is available below this call. No matter where you see it, it's just going to be a click of a button to get through to Wade and his wonderful team to learn more about investing in all sorts of different asset classes. And with that being said, Wade, thank you so very much for joining me on the show today.
Thank you, Rick. My pleasure.